KwaZulu-Natal has seen a rise in violent crimes as well as a deadly shootout between police and the suspects. Let's speak now to the KwaZulu-Natal Community Safety Department. The spokesperson for that department is Kwanele Ncalane, who joins us on the virtual line now. Mr. Ncalane, good evening to you and thank you for your time. The majority of mass killings and murders in South Africa originate from KwaZulu-Natal, or at least that is where the majority of them are coming from. Is this a worrying picture for KZN?
Good evening, Oli, and good evening to all the viewers at home. Indeed, it is quite a worrying picture and the trend that some of these mass murders are happening in our province. However, we are of a view that as the provincial government working with the police, there is serious work that is being done to deal decisively with the elements of crime in the province, coming from a number of crime categories that we have dealt with over years, including cash in transit and issues such as murders and so forth. We have managed to drastically reduce those, even though there are some areas that remain stubborn, such as Inanda, Wama, Shunduzu, Bamblazi, Hammersdale, and Pessisle. Those are the stations where, through the assistance of the national government, the minister, and the national commissioner, we are implementing the turnaround plan to see if we are able to make a dent in crime. We are quite optimistic with the interventions we are making in terms of additional police resources, additional deployment, the support that government is giving in terms of reviving and resuscitating community safety structures in those areas, and the ongoing campaigns and engagements with those communities. We are quite optimistic that even in those areas, we will be able to see major crime categories going down. But also, we are worried only by the fact that there seems to be an ongoing network which is dealing with the proliferation of firearms in the province, because police, minimum, they arrest about 10,000 criminals in this province every month, but still you see that there are more than 300 firearms that are removed, illegal firearms, in the hands of the criminals. But most people are still dying through using the guns, which still tells you that there is a network, there is a syndicate that is operating, which deals with the distribution of these firearms, and we think that it's one area that we need to deal with decisively and make sure that we reduce the levels of these illegal firearms in our society.
Well, if it wasn't for the ease with which firearms are available to people who are interested in criminality, perhaps we wouldn't see as many murders as we are seeing in KZN. You talk about a syndicate which could be behind the distribution of these firearms. Where do you think these firearms are coming from exactly?
Well, at this stage, I can't confidently say where exactly, but judging by the number of murders that are happening in the province, and most of them using firearms which are illegal in the hands of the criminals, it does suggest that there is a place somewhere, or there are people somewhere who are supplying these firearms to criminals. But we are quite impressed by the work of the police lately. We have been dealing decisively with these notorious gangs in the areas of Inanda. We've seen in the past months that almost people there are walking free now every day because of the interventions that have been made by the police. You saw last week in Maran Hill as well, where police intervened decisively to criminals that have been terrorizing the community. So we think that with the resources and the deployment of the police, the high caliber resources and vehicles that are deployed to look after and chase these criminals, we believe that we will be able to crack even most dangerous areas and even most wanted criminals that are known to be terrorizing our communities. And we also want to reiterate our support as the provincial government to the police and the good work that they are doing. We are behind them, like we have seen last week, the Premier launching 85 vehicles that we have bought as provincial government to assist community safety structures in the province. And more resources are going to be injected in that regard because we want to engage our citizens to be on high alert, to work with the police, but also to make sure that they themselves assist in the fight against crime. It is not only the police that can win the war against crime, but all of us, if we work jointly, community policing forum, and any member of society that is interested in making sure that their streets, their hood is safe, their villages are safe. Therefore, we will be making sure that as government, we support those structures. We have even brought the private security on board to say, come work with the police because we are looking after premises, certain houses, certain areas, and by that you should know some of the people who are terrorizing and giving the community sleepless nights. Therefore, let's share information, let's share intelligence information, let's embark on these intelligence-driven operations, and by that we'll be able to create safer communities.
At a policy level, Mr. Ncalane, the shootout between police and suspected criminals, that previously was a huge debate in the country because there was a time when the so-called shoot-to-kill policy got the government, particularly the Minister of Police, under fire because, yes, someone might confront the police, but it is the responsibility of a police officer to ensure that people are not killed, even criminals. But it's when the life of a police officer is threatened that then they are allowed to use deadly force. In the events that have been happening in KZN, as a department, is that a concern for you that more and more suspected criminals are dying at the hands of the police?
Not at all, Polly. To be quite honest, we feel that as the provincial government, when these dangerous and heavily armed criminals are fighting the police have got every right that is enshrined in the Constitution to defend themselves and to defend the society. Therefore, anybody who's waging war against the police is waging war against the state, and therefore the police must defend themselves. We are also urging the police not to die with their guns. In fact, they must use all means possible to defend themselves. Remember, we are not dealing with just amateur group of gangs. We are dealing with dangerous criminals who are having high caliber rifles, who are having a serious criminal network, and we have been terrorizing communities. And like the minister was saying, some of these criminals, they've been involved in killing of officers. Like this weekend, yesterday, there was the minister was here during a police that was killed in Sundumbili in Mandeni. So you can't therefore say these criminals are not dangerous and they don't pose any danger to the police. However, we are the first to say police must not be trigger happy. Police must use maximum force and they must defend themselves where it is necessary. And in most of these operations, there is environmental scanning, there is intelligence information, so they know the kind of criminals that they are dealing with. And we are satisfied with the explanations that have been given by the police management in most of these incidents and the evidence that has been gathered thereof in terms of the firearms that have been recovered, which is an indication that these criminals are at war. Therefore, police must not fold their arms, but they must defend themselves. But if there are any cases that where there are certain complaints, we leave that to the IPIT, which is entrusted with the responsibility of investigating such. But in most of these cases, these are known criminals. We've heard communities themselves coming out and thanking the police to say they've eliminated these criminals while they are trying to shoot at the police. And it says that even communities were living in fear of these dangerous criminals. Therefore, from where we are sitting, we applaud the police for the good work they've done, and they've got our full support as the province.
Talking about this matter, Mr. Ncalane, the police commissioner in KZN, talking to another media platform, he appeared to be raising frustration with what is a murder charge against a police officer if that officer was in a confrontation with a suspected criminal and the suspected criminal dies, because that police officer is automatically charged with murder even before an IPID investigation is concluded. Here's the question. What implications does this have for police officers on the ground when they are charged with murder even before investigations are complete? Because he appears to be saying this needs to be scrapped.
Yeah, it is an issue that needs to be dealt with at the policy and the legislative level. But remember, the law is very clear. If somebody has died in exchange of whatever, definitely there will be a murder case that will be investigated. If such a person has died in the hands of the police as well, there will be such matter that will be investigated. But also, we believe that IPID has been doing their work fairly, and we believe that such matters must be left to the IPID to investigate, because there are instances where previously have found that police have acted wrongly, and there are consequences that have to apply even on that case. But also we understand where the commissioner is coming from, because it does provide certain limitations from the police when they are faced with these deadly criminals, where police have to risk their lives, try to arrest even criminals who are dangerous, because they fear that the law is not protecting them. So hence I'm saying it's a matter that needs to be debated by the society, by the country, to say from the legislative point of view and the from the policy point of view, how do we also protect police who are engaged in these confrontation with dangerous criminals whilst they are doing their work? Because remember, they are protecting me and you. Therefore, it is in the interest of all of us that they defend themselves, they defend us. If it means shooting and killing those criminals, that is the price the criminals they pay. But the police then after that becomes the one who is now in trouble, having to face the charges, having to attend these court cases and so forth. So there is a certain way in which we need to deal with the matter as the society, and I believe that at the highest level and at the legislative level, this matter needs to be looked at.
Kwanele Ncalane, thank you very much for your time.